Hey pre-algebra, in this video we're going to talk about the coordinate plane, axes, and directions. So let's start out with an example of the coordinate plane. So the first thing I want you to know is the word coordinates refer to two numbers, where the first one is known as the x and the second one is known as the y. So an example of a set of coordinates might be 2 and -1. And this means that x equals 2, and this means that y equals -1. But what's important is that they relate to this picture. So this is called the x-axis, and this is called the y-axis. And you can think of each one as a number line. So right here is 0, 0. If I'm going to the right along the x-axis, I'm going positive on the number line. If I'm going to the left, I'm going negative on the number line. So I first get -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and so on. Now, I want to think of it as a number line in the y direction too, where going up is getting positive. So that means this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then going down is negative. So going underground is negative. Okay. Now it makes a little more sense to call one number x and one number y. I also remember this because x comes before y in the alphabet. So when I want to name a point, I need to say what its x value is on the x-axis and what its y value is on the y-axis. So to name the point A, I first want to look at where it is on the x-axis. So let's say that's about 6.5. And then where it is on the y-axis. So that's about 8. So now let's try to name B. First, I look at where B is along the x-axis. So maybe -6. And then along the y-axis, 4. So B is -6, 4. C, first I look along the x. So C has -8 along the x-axis, and then how far down do we go? -7.5, because it's between -7 and -8. And then finally D, we first walk along x. So D is maybe 2.5, comma. Then walk along y. Let's say that's just -3. We'll round. So now let's come back to this example and see if we can graph it. So if I start with the coordinates, can I find it? This means go 2 in the x direction and -1 in the y direction. So to do it, I go 1, 2 in the x direction and -2 in the y direction. So this point, let's call it E, is 2, -1. The other terms that you need to know are quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So a quadrant is just a quarter of the graph. So we split it into 4 quarters, 4 parts. And then quadrant 1 is this first one. And then we go counterclockwise. So this is quadrant 2. This is quadrant 3, and this is quadrant 4. So our point in quadrant 1 was 6.5, 8. It has a positive x and a positive y. If you look at any point in quadrant 1, it will have a positive x and a positive y. So x is bigger than 0, and y is bigger than 0 in quadrant 1. But how about quadrant 2? In quadrant 2, all the x's are negative. So for quadrant 2, x is less than 0, because we have all negative x's. But y for quadrant 2, we're above ground, so y is bigger than 0. In quadrant 3, we're on the negative x's, so x is less than 0. Let me use orange here. X is less than 0. And we're underground, so y is also less than 0. And finally, in quadrant 4, x's are positive. So in quadrant 4, x is bigger than 0, but we're underground, so y is less than 0. So an example of a point in quadrant 1 would be like 3, 5. Quadrant 2, our x would have to be negative, so negative 4, but our y is positive, so maybe 6. In quadrant 3, we go negative x, so maybe negative 3, but we also go underground, so negative y. And in quadrant 4, we have positive x, but negative y, because we're underground. The x-axis is any point where y equals 0. So an example of that might be 4, 0, or 3, 0. The y-axis is this one. So this is a place where x is 0. So 0, and then anything I want for y. So the last kind of example I want to do is giving directions along the coordinate plane. So if I want to figure out the resulting coordinates, it helps to have a picture. So if I'm at 1, 2, and I first go to the right by 3, that means that from my starting point, I'm walking 1, 2, 3. So if I started at 1, now I'm at 4 for my x-coordinate because I went 3 to the right. But my y-coordinate didn't change. I'm still at 2. Now if I want to go down by 4, from this new point, I have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was 1, this is negative 1, this is negative 2. I go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So my new coordinates are 4, because I'm still at 4 along the x, and negative 2. Now you might notice that when I go to the right, I'm adding 3 to x, because I'm walking that way. And when I go down, I'm subtracting 4 from y. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alrighty, I hope this helps. This was a slightly longer video, but it should get you through all 3 of the IXL problem sets. Good luck and talk to you soon.